a 1948 standard 14. And what do you do with a rusted out beyond restoration Anglia estate? Well, you cut it down and make it into a little trailer. Original registration number, original plates. Just come back to have another look at this wonderfully original Ford Model Y. Well, welcome to Old Classic Car, and today we are at the glorious Tatton Park in Cheshire for the Tatton Park Classic Car Show, or the Tatton Park Classic and Performance Car Show, as I believe it's called nowadays. I've been coming here on and off for many years, since the late 1980s. I would have been here in the Spitfire, the A40, my old XJ12 and some various Volvo Amazons, but it's been a few years since I've been here. I think it's 2010 was the last time. In 2009 I've got very vivid memories of this particular place, because I came here in the Austin A40 Devon and displayed the car here, and on the way out, just pulling out to the car park over there, the timing chain snapped, so I had to wait for the AA to bring me back home. So that wasn't a very glorious end to the day, but overall some great memories of being here at Tatton Park, and hopefully we'll be adding to those today. It really is a spectacular setting for a classic car show, it really is. Little Barclay on the trailer, four-wheeled Barclay. One of the Farina Morris Oxfords on MGB wheels, the row styles. I think most of the classic cars here at Tatton Park are already in position, but there's still quite a few driving in, so we'll just spend a few minutes sat here, or stood here rather, watching some of them coming in. Beautiful Sunbeam Talbot 90 there. MG Midget, a round wheel arch, MG Midget. Very tasty little car. And that's followed by its bigger brother, the MGB GT. And behind that, wow, a Reliance Saber 6 from 1965. Six-cylinder engine, usually like the Ford Zephyr straight six, often with the Raymond Mays conversion, triple carburetors and all that. That body shell dates its way back, all the way back to the Ashley 1172 of the early 1960s. That was an adaptation of it. Good old Morris Minor 1000 there. The Sunbeam Rapier, the fastback Rapier. And many electric fans running on this beautiful Jensen Interceptor. Burble, burble, burble from the Chrysler V8. Very straight looking E28 5 Series BMW here as well. What a cracker that is. The bonnet's up on the catch, and there is a couple of windows open, so hopefully the owner's not too far away. The Mini Mayfair, one of the plush upmarket limited edition versions of the Mini. A little smart car there. C-Class Mercedes, and a Wolseley 1660 from 1965. Used to run one of those. I paid £100 for it. A colleague at work was moving house quickly and needed it off their driveway, so I bought that. Had some sills put on it. It was a great car to run around in. A Series 2 E-Type, a 4.2 litre E-Type Roadster. An E36 Coupe. No prizes for guessing what this is, the Citroen 2CV. The Rover 3 litre Coupe, the P5. Another stunning Rover, a P1 Sports Saloon, mid-1930s. Lower roofline, very, very nice car indeed, that one. Wolseley 444, a two-tone Wolseley 444 no less. And coming in down the driveway here, we've got a Rover P6. And the Triumph 2000 behind that. I've seen these two somewhere before, maybe at Cholmondeley Castle only the other week. A 2500S, yes, we've seen that duo before somewhere. Another Rover Coupe, this time the 3.5 litre P5B Coupe. The Daimler 250 behind that. Both V8 powered cars, but very, very different engines and very, very different cars. A Triumph TR8, TR7 with 3.5 litre Rover V8. So we've got quite a lineup of V8s today. We had the Jensen Interceptor before as well, so yeah, many, many cylinders here today. Got a Ferrari Testarossa, because of course this is the Tatton Park classic and performance car. It's not just classic cars here today, whereas when I used to come here regularly it was just classic cars, so we will be prioritising the older cars. But oh, look at this glorious Austin Westminster here. Wow, I do like that. Many, many badges on the front. Immaculate little Beetle there, 6-volt Beetle. The Hillman Super Minx, but not any old Super Minx, a Super Minx Estate. What a crackingly original looking car that is. Audi TT, a modern classic I suppose now. A matching pair of Mk1 Ford Escorts now. RS2000 in front. And a Mexico behind. A very, very smart looking car that. RS2000 in bright yellow, and a lovely oily rag Ford Model Y. Quite an early Austin 1800, 1966, with the horizontal rear lights. You don't see those all that often now.
This is what I don't want to happen.
Vauxhall Victor F-Type. There's a Sunbeam Rapier.
Right, speak to you in a bit then. Take it easy, man. Out of bed.
There's a little Thames 307E van, 1964. Oh, well, that's the tail end of the arrivals caught on film, I think, so let's go and wander in and see what's already parked up here at Tatton Park. This here is a Quantum, a Ford-based homemade kit car. I think the doors, or at least the door handles and the furniture, are all Ford, probably Fiesta, I would have thought. Yeah, quite a neat little car. And over there we've got a Gilburn driving in. There's always a huge auto jumble here at Tatton, but I think for now we will prioritise going and have a look around and see what cars are here. It will get busier later, so now is the time to have a look around, I think. And the first stand we see is populated by many, many TR Triumphs. We've got a TR5 here, beautiful car with the Surrey roof on it. TR6, I think all these cars are for sale. A nice TR4. Perfect for a day like this. We've got a TR3. You'll note the TR3As have a slightly wider grille on them and the exterior door handles, but this is the TR3, which was an evolution rather of the TR2, which didn't have a grille at all, just the opening there. Spitfire. So there's a TR3 over the back there with the wider grille. Lovely little Spitfire, that. Fiesta XR2 Mark II. Much modified MGB Roadster here. Many mods. Another TR5. And a TR4. Lovely little Austin A30 there. PYR899. A little two-door saloon. Right, the area over here is reserved for individual classic car entries, so I think the clubs are sort of over the back there somewhere, but this is all people who have booked in individually, not involved in a particular club or stand. So let's have a quick shufty at what's here today. So we've got a Shadow 1 here, Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, 6.75 litre V8 engine that served Rolls-Royce and of course the Bentley badge Rolls-Royces for many years. Great little Mini there with a rally chopper on the top. An XR3i Cabriolet, an Audi. Now we've seen this one before, possibly at Capesthorne Hall or Chumley. I think it was Chumley the last time we saw this one. This American spec Mercedes-Benz SL, a 380 SL from 1984. Got those huge chunky US spec bumpers, and we've got this tribute to Aston Martin that we last saw probably on the Weaver Wonder video, if you've not seen that one yet, which was a classic car road run around the lanes of Cheshire. Please check that one out. Next to that, a Hillman Imp, a very smart Volvo P1800, a P1800S. So a quick peeking through the window, the running gear on these is very similar to that of the Volvo Amazons, the 122S in particular. Yeah. What a cracking car, you just wouldn't think that was a Volvo. All these very curvy car. And you'll notice there are no joints. I mean, they're very curvy wings, but there's no joints here where the front panel joins or where it goes under the scuttle. This is all lead loaded. So consequently, these are very expensive to restore correctly. Audi Quattro. There's a red P1800S alongside on the very rare period alley wheels. An Alpine, the A310 I think that is. Oh, there's that little Barclay coming in. Let's have a quick look at that. What a cracker that is. Open top Interceptor. Next to this bright red TR6 you'll see the Mazda RX3 that we had a good close look at on the Weaver Wonder video just a couple of weeks ago. Had a chat with the owner of this one. He's had this I think about 25 years if memory serves. Cracking car. He's also got a race prepared one at home which doesn't get out so much nowadays, but yeah, he's a real keen fan of these rotary engine Mazdas. Let's carry along down the row here past this Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, a little Alfa Romeo Coupe, the Aston Martin, what's that, a DB7. A real mixture of cars here, classic cars and also slightly later performance cars. The Lancia Delta Integrale of course. Wow, now look at this XJ Coupe. Wow, that's been done in the style of the car that featured in the Avengers with John Steed back in the 1970s. He drove a car that was done up all like that with the broad speed wide arches on it from the race cars, the race prepared XJ12 coupes. And that's what this is a tribute to. Still on the auto gearbox. Now, is this a V12 or a 6? I think this is a 6-cylinder car, because the V12s, I think, had a higher red line on the tacho there. This one's red line at 5 to 5.5, which I think is the rev limit for the 6-cylinder cars. The V12s revved a little bit higher, I think. Let's have a look on the boot to see if there's any clues on here. Yeah, no clues there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a 6-cylinder car. Immaculate. As is this wonderful Anglia Super. Ford Anglia Super, the 123E. What a cracking show. I think this is going to turn out to be. Got a 7 Series BMW there and a Toyota alongside that. But here we have a Ford console, a 4-door Ford console saloon. What's great is there are quite a few cars here already that I haven't seen before. So, I mean, the Tatton Park Classic Car Show is a huge event, so it attracts people from many, many miles away. And that's appearing to be the case today with the appearance of all these cars that I haven't seen before, or at least for a very, very long time. Complete with sun visor. This is actually off a Mark IV Ford Zodiac. Yeah, great car, great 1950s car. We've got an early 70s 2-door Escort here, a 1300E, the Honda S2000, the Mercedes SL, which is for sale. Not only is it for sale, but there are lots of goodies on the floor behind it which are also for sale. So I think we have to go and have a look and just see if there's anything we need to grab while it's early in the day. Right, we'll carry on down the road number 2, headed by this MGC GT. I think we parked just a few cars down from this one at Cape Thorne Hall last weekend, so yeah, what a cracker that is. What's this badge on the front here? University Motors Special. Well, University Motors for many, many years was a prolific seller of MG's new, especially prior to the Second World War. So maybe that's where that one came from. And here we've got a Fiat 127 now. This reminds me of a mate of mine in the 1970s. His mum had a yellow one of these. Hers was a Fiat, but this is actually the Seat. So this was a licence-built Fiat 127 built in Spain. Some very snazzy looking wheels on this one as well. Yeah, the Seat 127 LS. Never seen one of these before. Again, that's why it's worth coming to shows that you haven't visited in quite a while, because you see cars that you haven't seen before. Yeah? European Car of the Year, 1972. Good grief. Mark II Escort, a 1600 Sport, and here, a 1933 Morris 10-4 Saloon. So this was like the big brother to the Morris 8. And it's for sale, this one. Looks like a very straight car indeed. Next to that, a contemporary rival, the Austin 7 Ruby. And here, glistening in the sun, a circa 1970 Fiat 500. Over here, we've got a Ford Zephyr 6, 602 PTO. Nice to see an original registration and original registration plate. We like these things. Yeah, what a Bobby Dazzler that is. And how about this? A Sunbeam Talbot 90 drop head. Yeah, these Roots group cars were just stunning, I think. Beautiful interiors in these. As you'll know if you've watched previous show walk-arounds, I'm a big fan of 1950s Roots group interiors, whether it's a Humber or a Hillman. We were looking at that Hillman Minx drop head coupe just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Proper car. Next to that, we see these quite regularly, the little minivan and the mini saloon. Next to that, we've got a 4-door Cortina, a 1600cc Ford Cortina Mark III, and the Wolseley version of the Land Crab, the Wolseley version of the Austin and the Morris 1800. Now, if this is a 4-cylinder car, it's the Wolseley 1885. There was also the Wolseley 6, which looked fairly similar. I'm guessing this is the 1885. Yeah, there we go. 1885, a Series 2. Who remembers that promotion? Put a tiger in your tank. Let's have a quick peek in through the window. So in many ways this was the sort of the spiritual replacement to the Wolseley 1660, the Farina based car that we saw driving in just a few minutes ago.
Where's your flag? Where's your flag, Nigel?
Could that be from any other decade than the 1970s? The Bond Bug, the 700 ES. We've got a Spitfire Mark IV here. A Toyota Sierra, I'm not quite sure which, with the gull wing doors. Quite a bonkers looking car that is. Those were a Japanese market car, JDM. I don't think they were ever sold here, but obviously a few have been imported over the years. Next to that we've got a 3 Series convertible, the E30, and a Maserati Merak over here. What a swish bit of kit that is. And just to give an idea of the variety of cars you see at these classic car meets, you've got the Maserati here. Next to that, a Vauxhall Cresta convertible. Now, I featured this one in the Chumley Castle classic car show video that I did very recently, and someone was kind enough to mention that these were bodied in Australia, or rather the conversions were undertaken in Australia, which was a hunch that I did have. But yeah, what a belter that is. You do see these E-Series Vauxhall Crestas and Wyverns and Veloxes from time to time, but hardly ever the open top versions. Just such stylish cars. I do love the cars of the 1950s, the chrome, the detailing. Just look at the shape of the badge. It could just have been a normal boring badge, but no, the Vauxhall logo is built in to the number plate light, and that's the kind of detail that I really love on this era of car. Look at these tail lights. Isn't it just a cracker? Because we're not far from Manchester Airport here. During the Second World War, Tatton Park was used for parachute training. So there's a lot of history here, obviously going back many, many years with Tatton Hall itself, but also more recent times, like I say, parachute training, all that kind of thing. It's only a short hop away from what is now Manchester Airport, which used to be known as Ringway. But anyway, back to the cars, and we've got a Mk1 Mini here, Mk1 Austin Mini. The very early cars were badged up as Austin 7s, as were the early Austin A30s. Yep, here we go, Austin 7. So what year is this one then? Obviously the Mini came out in 1959. This I think is a deluxe with these little overriders on the bumpers. It's got the slightly wider wheels from the Cooper S, I think. Otherwise that looks like a super original car. Lovely bright red. Just what a fun little car that is. I hope the badge hasn't gone missing on the front there. Hope it didn't fall off en route. But yeah, isn't that just glorious? Here we got MGB GT on an H registration, so still chrome bumpers at that time. Another one here on an L, so it's a little bit later, but still chrome bumpers. And a Mk1 Fiesta alongside that. Down here we've got an XJS. And the Austin A35. Again, not a car I've seen any time recently. Got a few period accessories on this one. We've got the No-Tech blue spot lamps on the front, these headlamp peaks, which I'm not over keen on. And the sun visor, now often you see the steel sun visors, but this is sort of like a tinted perspex, which makes it just that bit more unusual. Nice period aerial on the roof. And there's a bit of history on this particular car, so if you want to have a quick read, just pause the video. Beautifully turned out little A35. Ooh, 1275. It's clearly had an upgrade from its original 948cc A-series engine. Fortunately the bonnet's down. But yeah, 1275 will make it bob along very nicely indeed. Probably an engine out of a Sprite, a Spridget, something like that. Next to that we've got a Austin Healey Sprite Mark 1. Of course these two are very similar under the skin. The Mini Clubman, the 1275 GT, the spiritual successor of the Cooper S. And what's this? A Studebaker truck, the Studebaker Transtar. Wowzers, with the East Coast style door mirrors there. Very similar to those that I put on Big Dodge, so I know that's why they're called East Coast style mirrors, because I had to do a fair bit of research when I was deciding which mirrors to put on the big truck at home. Yeah. What a stylish thing that is. Just look at the curves everywhere you look, just curves. For a utility vehicle, they really did go to town with the styling on many of these old trucks in America. Look at this, talking of utility vehicles, good grief. What have we got here? A bit of militaria. So this is a little Daimler, a Daimler Scout car. What a crazy little thing that is. You wouldn't want to be at the receiving end of that. Got a Jeep alongside, adorned with many, many guns. It's got a very oily, raggy smell to this one in the sun. And here's a cracking Austin A30, a four-door Austin A30. You don't see the four doors quite as often for some reason as the two doors. But yeah, it's an A30, they have the big shiny chrome grills on them, whereas the A35s just had the chrome surround and then the painted centres. Yeah, four-door cars, much rarer. Of course the standard 8 and the 10, the rival in the 1950s, they were all four-door cars. Although I think the doors were a little bit wider, so probably getting in and out the back maybe a little bit easier on the standard. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, what a cracking little car. That is beautiful paint finish on it as well. This would have had the 803cc A-series engine, shared with the Series 2 Morris Minor. Right, got a Metro there, and a glorious XJ, another XJ Coupe. This one's got a mighty 5.3 litre V12. There you go, Daimler 66 pillarless coupe, one of 407 ever made. Well, there's a bit of plumbing going on there, isn't there? These cars were fuel injected. The very early Series 2 V12s still had the carburettors, the four carburettors of the Series 1 XJ12s, but it wasn't long before they switched to fuel injection, just to make life even more complicated. Stunning car, that is.
This one's 78.
Okay, we've got a Rover Saloon here, P5, the 3 litre, straight 6, E30 BMW. Let's just nip along here past the Ferrari. Got a Cobra here, that looks like a bit of fun. Somewhat modified MGB GT. The Ferrari 308, I think. The Austin A35, this one a little 2-door in green. Meet Alice, a 1958 Austin A35. What a little cracker that is. The Maestro, Datsun Z car. Something big and American. I'm not too well up on my Americans. That's a Coronet, that's a Dodge, isn't it? Plenty of room to spread out in there. Got a Mini Moke here. This is probably one of the later cars. These were built in Portugal. Obviously originally it was an Austin car. A little Honda there. The 67 Triumph Spitfire. And that'll be a Mark II. Or to give it its proper name, the Spitfire 4 Mark II. So this had the 1147cc version of the little old standard Triumph engine. The Mark III Spitfire that came along after this introduced the slightly larger 1296 to the Spitfire. Next up we've got a Scimitar, the SE6A Scimitar GTE Coupe. We've got a Wolseley 1500 here. Harley would have liked this one, but he's not with me today. And that'll Triumph 1500. And here's that Vauxhall Magnum. If you've seen the Chumley Classic Car Show from a week or two back, you'll remember seeing this car. This is a gloriously original Vauxhall Magnum, 6,500 miles when this was found in March of 2023. Absolutely incredible survivor car. It's just so nice. Look at that sticker there. And the wonderful, wonderful interior. Just have a quick look. The windows wound up, unfortunately, but just that lovely velour interior. It's a proper time warp. It should be in the museum, this one. Absolutely stunning car, this. We'll continue working our way around the individual entries here at Tatton Park. Here we've got an ex-Forestry Commission Morris van. Well, I assume it's a Morris. Nice to see the proper wider steel wheels, which was a standard thing with the van versions of the Morris Minor. And the correct bonnet, because the Morris Saloons, they have like a strip that runs down the side of the bonnet there, continuing on that moulding on the door. But the commercials, the vans and the pickups, don't have that. We've got an MGB GT, a very vibrant yellowy green colour. A split window VW, complete with matching trailer. Mercedes SL MG RV8 in the dark green metallic. Usually we see these in red, so it's nice to see a green one. What have we got here? A Lada Estate. Grief, it's a while since I've seen one of these. There was a lovely green one at Crewe Heritage a little while ago. 1985 daily driver UK car. Wowzers, only 5 left on the UK roads last time I searched. So we do like an old classic estate car here at OCC. You've got roof bars. Most of these went back to Russia, I think. Well, certainly aren't too many left here in the UK. Oh, yeah, great to see that one. MGB Roadster. Very shiny Morgan. The Scimitar Coupe, the SE4, the GT.
I had a kid working from a shop, a little estate in
the later Scimitar GTE.
Dad uses it daily. Never let me down.
Now we've got an MGB Roadster. Looking at the colour, I'm wondering if this is the one that we saw recently, still with its heron hardtop on, the very unusual fiberglass hardtop. It was certainly the same colour as this, and I've got the feeling the wheels were very similar as well, so maybe it was the same car. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to revisit the Weaver Wonder video just to see if it's the same car. If not, it's a very, very similar one. Next to the MGB, a Rover 2000 TC. Let's have a quick look here. 1966, twin carb, 113 brake horsepower. Apologies for the shadows. Not Hank Marvin, but the shadows caused by the sun. It's a beautiful day here in sunny Cheshire. Got an Austin Cambridge here, the A60. Bright yellow TR6. Another Wolseley 1500. Very usable little car, that 1500cc B-Series engine. Very similar structure underneath to the Morris Minor, but very different looking up on top. Quite a roomy four-seater these. Lovely wooden dashboard as well. These drive really nicely. Very similar rack and pinion steerings, again, as featured on the Morris Minors. This is a late-ish example, which by this point in time had the A40 Farina rear lights. The earlier Wolseley 1500s and the related Riley 1.5s had slightly smaller lamps front and rear. But yeah, another BMC beauty. Talking of beauties, we've got an immaculate MGB GT there. Just look how shiny that is. Well, I could never keep an engine that clean. Peugeot 205 GTI, although judging by the altered badge on the rear quarter, it says MI16 GTI. Now the MI16 was the souped up version of the Peugeot 405 in the late 1980s, so I'm guessing that's the MI16 engine that's been shoehorned. There we go, 16 valve. So the MI16 engine's been shoehorned under the bonnet of this 205 GTI. This must make it quite a spirited performer, I would have thought. The Morris Minor two-door. There's that strip on the bonnet that I was saying about that the saloons had, but the commercials didn't. An Escort Cosworth and another Wolseley 1500, and this is one of the earlier ones that I was talking about, with the smaller side lights at the front, slightly narrower grills at the bottom down there, and the smaller rear lights as well. This one looks super original, very original paint. Looks like it's been sort of mellowed, polished through, etc. Yeah, it's a lovely car, that. Complete with a few goodies on the seat there. Period picnic set on the rear seat, of course. Perfect for a nice day out on a Sunday afternoon, go and have a picnic somewhere. Another split window V-dub here. Little VW. Wow. Very, very smart car. It's a dog sensibly out of the sun. Is this a Corgi, this particular bike? The folding army little motorcycle, so you'd chuck them out with the parachutists, and these could be folded out and used on the ground wherever they were needed. Here you go, it's actually an Excelsior well bike from World War II. Little Villiers engine there. Parked off to the side here, we've got a Mark V Ford Cortina, complete with all those tiger print seat covers. Just perfect. Next to that, a Series 2 Silver Shadow. An immaculate four-door left-hand drive Mark 1 Ford Escort here on a K plate, so what's that, about 1971 or thereabouts. But yeah, it's a left-hand drive for sale, $8,995. That doesn't look like a bad buy at all. Very original looking car. The old supplying dealer sticker still on the rear boot lid here. And most of the paintwork looks pretty original on that one. Even got a tow bar. That looks like a really good buy for someone.
Anything else? You want a hammer?
Okay, let's plough on past the Golf GTI Mark 1, Sunbeam Alpine, nice early one with the big fins, Vauxhall Viva HA, we saw this one parked alongside the Humber Super Snipe at Capesthorne Hall just a week or two back, and the Spree, a much modified Ford Anglia. That one featured in the video I did at Avro Heritage not that long ago. This one we've seen at Hopley House before now. Beautiful, slightly modified V8 Ford Coupe, or Coupe. There we go. It's had a roof chop, but otherwise it's a great looking thing. Let's have a quick look under here. Looking a lot more original. There's this Mark II Ford console. What a cracker that is. Two-tone paint. Beautiful car. TR5 Triumph. Airing its 2.5 litre injected engine. Next to Vitesse, we've got a Mark III Mini, the Leyland Mini on a J registration. Some of these you're seeing they've been reshelled with later shells, but the double gutter tells us that this is the original body shell and not a later shell. Right, we've got a Mark II and Mark I MR2 there. Much modified Morris Minor here with a cheese grater grille. I think this started out as a van many years ago. I remember this as a van. It's been modified down into a pickup many years ago. The Morris 1300 GT. So this was like the Mini Cooper S for the family man, 4 doors, but the twin carb 1275 engine, very similar to that of the Cooper S. So this would have bobbed along very nicely indeed. Probably the fastest version of the AT016, the Austin and the Morris 1100. You had all the upmarket versions and the Riley Kestrel, the Wolseley 1300, the MG 1100 and 1300, and this was very similar to the MG cars with these unique wheel trims as well. As far as I remember, those were unique to the GT version. Got a bit of history in the window here. This is always good. Lovely sporty interior. And proper period radio as well. What a rare survivor that is. According to the blurb there on the window, it was only made for 6 months, the Morris badge version. Most of them were Austins apparently. So that makes that a super rare car. Okay, a Metro and a Vauxhall PA Cresta, 6-cylinder PA Cresta. What a Bobby Dazzler that is. What a crazy car. You can certainly see the American inspiration in the lines of this wonderful Cresta. Complete with nodding dog on the rear parcel shelf. Who remembers having one of those? Nice leopard skin seat covers as well. Classic 1950s car accessories, much to the fore, which is great to see. And what do we have here? It would appear to be a car similar to, but not actually, of late 1940s, early 1950s design. But here we've got a Spitfire Mark IV and a Cobra replica with an LS3 Chevrolet Corvette engine. Wowzers, that's quite a lump. This is a bit more my kind of thing. Wow, I've not seen this one before anywhere. It's a very oily rag, barn find looking standard. And we have a look here. Are there any clues there? There aren't. Often it says 14 or 12 to give a clue as to which model of standard we're looking at, but this one, I'm not quite sure what that says. Wow. But everything is not as it seems, because it's got a huge V8 engine under the bonnet. Now I know Standard did do a V8 version of this era of Standard, but What is the engine that's hiding in there? What a great looking car that is. I love the styling of these sort of late 1930s, 36, 37, something like that, standard. And it's great that this one hasn't been repainted, it's just been preserved as is. And it's all the better for it, in my opinion. It's not deteriorating particularly, so it's just beautiful. It's just evolved to this point in time over many, many years. That paint has been on that car for a long, long time. I'd love to know a little bit more about this engine that's hiding away under here, but either way, what a great car that is. Let's have a quick look at the commission plate on the side here. Any clues there? It says 20. Is it one of the original V8 powered cars after all? If it is, that is a very, very, very rare car. Answers on the postcard please if you know more about this particular car, DT8551. Please let me know. Like I say, I know the factory did produce a V8 version of this era of standard, but I don't think they sold in great numbers back in the day, and survivors you could count on one hand probably. Well, that's a glorious looking car. I just love this pattern of the oily rag, the sort of age, the age of it all. It's clearly had paint at some point in time. So the lighter green, I think, is over the darker green, and the darker green is showing through. But that is a beautiful looking car. In many ways, the car alongside this standard is a distant relative. This is the Triumph Acclaim, which is a collaboration with Honda and Austin Rover in the sort of late 70s, early 1980s, somewhere around there. But of course, Standard and Triumph became one in the 1960s. Standard actually took over Triumph, but then the Standard brand was actually dropped and Triumph continued. Right, okay, let's carry on down here. I'm talking of Triumphs. Got a TR4, 1965, Mark II Escort 4-door, and a Fiat X19. Who remembers owning one of these? A little Bertone design car of the 1970s. A BMW, one of the 02 series cars, probably a 2002. With an orange example alongside that. A little MGTC. Yes, I'm fairly sure that's a TC. Someone pointed out that if it's got 3 strips on the running board, it makes it the MGTC. Earlier cars, the TA and the TB, which look very similar, just had 2 strips. I hope I've got that the right way round. Well, I was right to be looking at the strips on the step here, but I got it the wrong way around. This is a TA, so I'm guessing TAs have the 3 strips and the TCs have the 2. So that's how it should be. We've got an information board here which has just appeared. There we go, 1936 MGTA. Spitfire 4, that's the Mark 1 Spitfire. These were introduced in 1962. We've got the XK8, the unsupercharged version of the XK8. The Spitfire 1500. This takes me back to my early years here at Tatton Park and the Classic Car Show. I used to bring my Spitfire Mark III here. Probably a very similar car to drive, but different in virtually all details. The earlier Spitfires had a separate screen assembly, whereas this, it's integral with the bulkhead there. Different shaped windows, different shaped bonnet, different shaped tail. These have the squared off tail, very similar to the Triumph Stag and the later Triumph 2000 Mark II Saloons. And once you're behind the wheel, it probably drives very, very similar to the earlier cars like I had. And perfect for a day like this here at sunny Tatton Park in Cheshire. Right, let's carry on down this particular row. There's that P5B Coupe, we saw driving them before, and another Standard. A 1948 Standard 14. Now, now this has the 14. This is what I was looking for on the other car. It gives you a clue as to what engine you've got here. This is the 14 horse car. And that just flicks out of the way and you put your starting handle through there. These were built either side of the Second World War. The pre-war cars have slats or grills, air vents, in the side of the bonnet here. They're post-war standards, and same with the little 8s as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, the 14, the pre-war cars were the flying 14s and the flying 8s and so on, but post-war the flying bit was dropped, and like I say, these air vents in the side of the bonnets disappeared. But otherwise it's a very, very similar car. They put it back in production once the war was over, and they'd continue producing these basically pre-war cars until the Vanguard was ready for production in the late 1940s. But very stylish. You don't see too many preserved standards around, especially of this era, pre and post-war. So it's great to see two of them here so far, and we're only a short way in to this huge classic car event here at Tatton Park. So anyway, let's carry on. A lovely little Morris Traveller here. A Stag, white Stag. Another 1360 Herald convertible on an F registration. We've got a 944 convertible. A Saab, a long-nose Saab, a two-stroke. So the earlier two-stroke Saabs had the bull-nose front end, a bit like the van that I found many, many years ago, in about 1990 that was. That had the bull-nose front and the two-stroke engine, and then they put an elongated nose on them, like this 96 here, but they still had the two-stroke engine for a while, and then later they put the Ford of Germany, the Cologne V4 engine under the bonnet. We've got another classic Saab here, but this one packs a hidden punch, because this one, I saw this one a little while ago on a trailer with the bonnet up. This one, this V4 96, has been converted to turbocharged power, incredibly. The bonnet's on the catch, but we can't see under the bonnet because it's down at the moment. But yeah, this one has got a turbo on it, so it's a real wolf in sheep's clothing. Really eye-popping paint, metallic red. Big bumpers of the late cars, but the earlier front, similar to the car alongside it. So there's a little bit of everything going on here, some later seats inside as well, but what a great car that, and that must be a real giggle. It's got the Mini Light style wheels, and these were Ronal, R-O-N-A-L. These were an option on Saabs in the 1970s, I remember those. But I've never seen a turbocharged Saab 96 like this before, until I clapped eyes on this one just a few weeks ago. Regulars to the channel will know we've got a pre-war Morris Minor sat in the garage. I did a video on that, firing it up just a few weeks ago, and we've got another one here, pre-war Minor, also open top, slightly different shaped body on this one, slightly different radiator surround, so it's probably a different year. I'm not quite sure what year this one would be. Probably a year or two later, I would have thought. It looks very much like the radiator surround that I used to have on the 1934 Morris Minor. Yeah, a very bonny little car and a great alternative to the Austin 7 Tourers, which you see quite regularly, but the Morrises, not so much. A Morris Cooper here for sale. I don't know, we've really been blessed with some great weather recently, and it just seems to make old cars look even more special than they already are when the sun is glistening on them, and that's very true, very much the case. And this beautiful Bentley on the end of the row here. Morris Minor 1000 on an 8 registration, so quite a late one. And there's that fastback Sunbeam Rapier that we saw driving in before, and the Reliance Saber 6. These are beautiful, I do love these. Fiberglass body, and like I say, this body shell originated produced by Ashley Laminates, and it was a special body that was available for people who were modifying Ford Pops in the late 50s, early 1960s. Then when they stopped making them, Reliant took over the design, modified it slightly, and it became the Saber 4 and the Saber 6. I think this is a Saber 6. But yeah, a very handsome looking car indeed. I do like these a lot. And they must go really, really well. Usually a big straight 6 engine, about 2.6 litre Zephyr engine. Triple carburetors, you could put the Raymond Mays head on it as well, and that would bob along very, very nicely. You do occasionally see these in historic rallying, well, at least you used to. It's not so much lately. And again, A40 rear lamps being pressed into service on a different car. We saw the Wolseley 1500 before, but we've yet to see an Austin A40, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, Saber 6. But yeah, a very sleek looking car that is. I would very, very happily put one of those in the garage back at home, but you just don't see them for sale. And if you do, it'll probably be a bit beyond my budget now, sadly. Unless anyone wants to swap a 4CV for one, which I doubt. Alright, let's carry on down here then. Another little Mini. This is Mark II Mini. Slightly different grille, still with the slidey windows and the exterior door hinges. And how many people learnt to drive behind that particular dashboard. Minis were so popular for driving schools and such like back in the day. A great first car as well. How many people watching this video had one of these as their first car? Let me know in the comments. And this is a sort of heralds back to almost pre-war car days with these particular type of number plates, because this is hinged, because the boot wasn't particularly big on the Minis, unlike the Wolseley Hornet, which had a slightly bigger boot. But the boot wasn't huge on these, so it was designed that if you were going on holiday and you needed to carry a suitcase, it's hinged at the bottom, so it would open out. And then you could actually run with your case sticking out, resting on the inside of the boot lid panel itself. And because the number plate is hinged, it would hinge out, and it'd still be visible to the boys in blue chasing you in their, well, probably in their Rover P6s at the time, I would have thought. But yeah, really neat little car. And this is in super condition, this one. A rally replica Audi Quattro. The Reliance Saber GTC, so this was the younger cousin to that Saber 6 that we were looking at before. Little Morris 1000 Tourer. Of course, for the factory produced these originally, and many two-door Morris Minors have been converted into Tourers, and you have to be quite careful to try and figure out whether you're looking at a genuine car or one that someone has made at home. Things to look out for if you're looking at one of these and you want to see if it's a real one or a homemade one. There's extra bracing at the bottom of the B pillar down there. It sort of triangulates out, comes out as it goes towards the floor, just to sort of beef up the body shell a little bit with the roof removed. This panel up here isn't always correct when people make their own, and also there's extra bracing under the corners just at the ends of the dashboard there. As it goes down the A pillar, there's a curved piece, and if a car's just been, the saloon's just been chopped down, quite often that wasn't put in. Of course, on the real cars, that's what they had, and this one has all the bits and bobs, the extra bracings. And next to that, this is a rarity. This is one of those sort of post-war coach-built cars that were built in relatively small numbers. The AC 2-litre Saloon. Quite an unusual sight now, very lofty roof line to it. Quite a low sleek front, not dissimilar to that of maybe the XK120 or something like that. Then as you go further back, the roof juts up, presumably designed for people to wear hats while they're piloting their mighty AC. And yeah, beautiful coach-built car, rear hinge doors, big two-door coupe, very long doors. Don't think they did a four-door version, so I think they were all two-door like this. So a lot of weight on that hinge pillar there at the back. Nice old tax disc as well in the window. Zodiac hiding away over here, the befinned Mark III version. An Austin Cambridge here. This is the A55 Cambridge Mark II. This was later replaced by the A60 Cambridge, which was very similar, just a slightly larger engine, different front end, slightly different back end as well. Wider rear track on the later car as well. But these were introduced, I think, in 1959. They have the bigger fins on the back. These were built from 59 to 61. They had the 1489cc engine, very similar to that in the Wolseley 1500 that we saw before. This one's on wider steel wheels, possibly from a TR6 maybe. But yeah, great car. We had one of these. I bought one of these from an old boy that used to work down at Heathrow for British Airways. He'd put the 1622 engine in it, so it drove along really nicely, it did. I ran that for a few years, quite a while ago. But yeah, fond memories of those. A Toyota here. There's the A60 Cambridge that replaced the A55 Cambridge Mark II. And there's Sunbeam Alpine over here. And this patined Comma camper that we've seen a couple of times this year already. Over here, behind Comma, we've got a Jaguar E-Type, a fixed head coupe, a Series 2 with a 4.2 litre engine. You can tell it's a Series 2 because it's got these big chunky indicators and side lights on the front. And of course no glass covers over the headlamps, although the late Series 1s didn't have the glass covers either. Yeah, stunning car. And Alvis here, TD21. This is a fairly early, this is a first series car. The slightly later TD21s, these lamps here, the fog lamps, the Lucas, they were built in to the front to replace those little grills. So I think this is the Series 1 TD21 drop head coupe. Mainly aluminium bodied over an ash frame, although these early cars did have steel door skins, if memory serves. And it did mean that when they got a few years old, they were a little bit prone to the doors dropping when you open them, because that's a fairly big, heavy door. So the Series 2 TD21s, they actually switched to aluminium skin doors, just to make them that little bit lighter, and it just gave the door hinges and the door pillar a little bit of an easier time. And I think quite a few people with the early cars have actually had aluminium door skins fitted to them, just to sort of like I say, give the structure of the car a little bit of an easier time, because there's a lot of woodwork hiding behind that body. But yeah, I do like these a lot. I would very much like a fixed head one of these. The Series 2 Roadster, of course it had the rocker switches in the middle. By this point in time, the earlier cars had the little flick switches, the little toggle switches. The beautiful Austin camper, based on the 152. This is the Paralanian, and someone kindly told me that these, I think they were built in Bradford on Parry Lane. Thanks to whoever it was that gave me that little tidbit of information. These were built on Parry Lane, and someone who worked there came up with the name of Paralanian for these little camper vans. So that's just a little bit of nugget of information that I picked up along the way. There you go, the Paralanian. Testarossa alongside it, complete with brick-shaped mobile phone. I love the old music cassettes there as well, the compact cassettes, all very 1980s. Right, Rover P5B, the coupe, the four-door coupe, the 3.5 litre engine there.
In fact, we were just watching a programme last night about these big RVs, you know, the ones.
There's that 6-volt VW Beetle, and the TT that we saw before, and over here, a Nissan Bluebird. I used to see those everywhere at one time, but not so much now. There's the Daimler V8, the 2.5 litre V8. There's the engine there. Quite a compact unit. Small brother to the 4.5 litre V8 that appeared in the Majestic Major. Same designer, Edward Turner. The name very much associated, I believe, with the motorcycle world. And that 2.5 litre V8 also appeared in the Daimler, the SP250, the Daimler Dart sports car, the fiberglass bodied sports car, but these were steel bodied just like the Mark II Jaguar on which it is based. Next to that, the Vauxhall Victor. I think this is a Series 2 car. The earlier cars had a slightly different front on them, a bit more chrome, and also the exhausts exited, or the exhaust rather, on one side exited through the corner bumper.
Yeah.
But these facelifted cars are Series 2 F-types. They didn't have that particular feature. Wow. What a rare survivor. I mean, these things rotted for England. They rotted when they were new. Next to that, we've got a Sunbeam Rapier, based on the Hillman Minx, of course. Popular little rally car back in the day. And there's that 5 Series we saw before. A little Hillman here. Is this the Minx or the Hunter? It's the Hunter. The Arrow Series car. We saw a Singer Vogue just last week somewhere at Cape Thorne Hall. And that's the Hillman Hunter version. Appears to be on Ford wheels. Slightly wider steel rims. Now look at this, the Datsun 120Y. When did you last see one of these? God, I remember these when I was a kid. They were everywhere, this sort of lurid turquoise, bluey, greeny colour. They were everywhere at one time and then they just disappeared. No one thought these funny little Japanese cars would catch on, but how wrong they were. They were really well specified, came with loads of equipment that either wasn't available on British cars at the time, the cars like the Morris Marina. And these just really caught on so quickly. You know, styling wasn't for everyone, and I remember they're quite gloomy inside. They're always very dark, black vinyl and so on. But they were reliable, and that's not something you could level at all the cars that were made in Britain back in the day. And they really, really caught on, and they never looked back really. So yeah, the Datsun 120Y, there was the 100A, and there was the 140J and the 160 and so on. But these were quite common. You could also get the estate car version as well. Rare survivor, as is this, the estate version of the HC Vauxhall Viva, and a bit of pre-war beauty here in the shape of a Rover, one of the P1 series Rovers of about 1935ish or thereabouts. It's the Rover Sports Saloon with a lower roofline, 2 windows per side, a bit sleeker than the regular saloons. Yeah, beautiful quality Rover. Whereas sort of in the final days of Rover, they were making things like the City Rover, which was some rebadged Indian thing. Back in the day, Rovers were real quality cars. It only really started going downhill during the BL era. Later 75s were, by all accounts, fairly decent cars, but the glory days of Rover, I think, was up to and including maybe the P6. Then after that, it became a little bit more patchy. Over here, next to the MGB, a bright orange MGB, we've got, now what's this, a De Tomaso, is it? Certainly looks like it. Very similar lines to that Maserati Merak that we saw before. Very low, very 1970s wedge. I can't really see him very well, but there's a fantastic dashboard there. Such a bank of gauges in the middle centre console there. Switch gear, switches everywhere. The radio mounted on its side. What a wild looking car that is. 1971. And again, we've got a little Barclay here. I've seen this a few times already today. Yeah, that's a rare little car, that is. 692cc, 4-stroke Royal Enfield, Super Meteor engine with Albion 4-in-line gearbox, drum brakes, independent suspension. The body is fiberglass and the original aluminium frame has been strengthened with some steel. I love the wheel trims on these, they stick out a mile. Well, they say variety is the spice of life. And we've got an International here that's been built up as a tanker, 1942. It's been made into a camper van. Next to that, we've got a de-bumpered Spitfire Mark III. I think this one appears in the video that we did at Capesthorne Hall only last weekend. We've got a mid-50s Chevrolet over here, the Chevy Bel Air. About 1955-ish, 56, 57, they didn't change much over the years. I hadn't actually noticed the twin pipes sticking out the back of this lovely old Standard. So that hints at a V configuration engine hiding under the bonnet, which is indeed the case. Shame there's no information board in the window, because I'd love to know a little bit more about this Standard. But right, anyway. We've had a walk around the individual entries, so I think we'll head over the other side of the main driveway and have a look at some of the club stands, I think. Yeah, some great cars here today. It's already getting quite busy. Lots of big Mustangs here. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's a bit of a mixture of sports cars and classic cars here at Tatton, and because this is a classic car channel, we will be prioritising the older cars, just like this F registration Ford Mustang here. What a Bobby Dazzler that is. Fairly early and fairly late examples of the Rover ST1 here. This was the replacement for the P6. Very, very different car. Some say the styling was inspired by that of the Ferrari Daytona. I kind of see where they're coming from. But A groovy Celica fastback on the end here of the late 1970s. I think those wheels are from a later Supra. Oh, good looking car. Must be inspired by the Mustang, surely. Let's carry on down here to more familiar territory and a gorgeous pre-war Alvis. That is a beautiful car. We have an Army Jeep and the Vauxhall Viva Owners Club. The HB Viva there. The Droop Snoot that we see at various local events. The HC Viva Estate. This chap looks like he's been here a little while, working, beavering away underneath his Bedford HA van. Enjoying a bit of shade here is the Austin A30 and A35 Owners Club. Got an A30 two-door saloon here, very similar to the one that Mrs. OCC used to run as her daily driver many years ago. I persuaded her to buy it, and it was a very good little car as well. This is a 1955 car called Bumble. It's been in my family's ownership since 1963, when my uncle purchased it for his wife from the local district nurse. Nurse Gladys Emanuel used to drive this one then. Again, beautifully turned out. Interesting colour of wheel. And here we've got a pre-war Austin. Now we see quite a few pre-war Austins around in about different shows, but more often than not they're the smaller ones. But this is an Austin 6, a 1936 Austin Hartford limousine, so it says in the window. There's so many different versions and variants of these saloons, so I'm very grateful for that little information sheet in the window there. The little A32 door here. And here we have the Sunbeam Alpine Owners Club. A variety of different sporty Alpines here. These were built for many years as a rival, I guess, to the MGB and maybe the TR4 as well. So this was Roots Group's idea of a sporty, usually two-seat sports car. I think there was also the GT model, which had a hardtop, a removable hardtop on a rear seat, but the downside was it didn't have a folding roof. So you could only take the hardtop off at the beginning of days that you knew were going to be dry. Unless, of course, you had a tonneau cover, which just went over the passenger compartment there. But they all look fantastic together. Also, what's good about being so many clubs here is that you see lots of examples of very similar cars all together in one place. So many shows you go to, it's all individual entries and the cars are spread out all over the place, but here you get blocks of very similar cars and you can do comparisons between the years as the cars changed and the models evolved. So like here we've got the Anglia Super. That was a posher upmarket version of the Ford Anglia, alongside the little 700 weight Thames van version, which was the 307E Thames. And that had the grille, the narrow grille, which was a feature of the sort of the base, the fleet spec. I think they were called Anglias, the early 105Es. So even though at first glance they all look very similar, there are actually many detailed differences, which if you actually spend a little bit of time and have a look, you will spot. And here we have one of those fleet model Anglias with a very narrow grille. The car next to it has the more regular grille that you usually see. That's an Anglia Super, the 123E. But most Anglias you see have that wider style of grille. So this is actually quite rare, quite a rare car. I think some of these fleet models didn't have opening windows. I think they were just held in with like a little rubber seal. This has got the opening windows. I'm fairly sure the fleet models didn't always have that feature. Maybe this is a fairly late one, being a 1966 registration. If you know your Anglias, please let me know in the comments. What do you do with a rusted out beyond restoration Anglia estate? Well, you cut it down and make it into a little trailer. That's exactly what's happened here. Doesn't that look the part behind the little Anglia 1200 on mini light style wheels, the GB alloy wheels. It's got a Cortina GT badge on there, so I'm guessing There may be differences under the bonnet of this car. There are many, many differences inside. Look at all that. The historic rally car register. I'm guessing this engine has seen many, many modifications. Somewhat modified, a 500 weight version of the little Thames van. And a few bits and bobs for sale here as well. Got a Nova SR, an SRI, and another slightly modified example down here on the end of the row. Many, many Rileys here of different shapes and sizes. We've got the post-war Riley RM, the 1.5 litre saloon. As I've said before, there was the 1.5 and the 2.5 litre cars. The 1.5s had the dark blue background to the badge. The 2.5 litre cars had a pale blue background. Maybe we'll see one of those here today. Beautiful car. Lots of wood framing going on behind all this outer coachwork. So if you're buying one, buy with care. These roofs, it's like a composite with a wire mesh in there, padding, and then this Everflex or Rexine over the top. So always give that a good prod if you're looking at buying a Riley RM, which is a very good reason not to buy one based on photos alone. And here we've got the Riley Kestrel, the Riley version of the Austin and Morris 1100 and 1300. This one's got a full-length roof in it, a Webasto style roof. It's a 4-door version. Many, many lovely Rileys. A couple more Riley 1.5s. We saw the Wolseleys before. And these are the Riley versions, the twin carb, the sporty version. There's the Fisher and Ludlow body plate there. Fisher and Ludlow produced the bodies on behalf of BMC. This is a 1958 car. There are some photos of it here, pre and during restoration. As you can see, a real labour of love. And that's just a reminder really that every car you see here today, especially the older cars like this and before, they've all got a story to tell. And very few of them have made it this far without being subject to a major strip down and rebuild, whether to original patina condition or fully restored, resprayed and so on, but they've all got a story to tell. It's a fairly early one again, like the Wolseleys. They had smaller backlights on them, and the revised cars had the A40 units, and I've still yet to spot an Austin A40 Farina here today. Many, many A40 lamps we've seen, such as on the back of that Reliance Saber 6. But so far, no A40 Farinas themselves. Will we go all day without seeing an Austin A40 Farina? I genuinely have no idea. I don't think the A40 Farina club are here today. They tend to go to the NEC because it's quite a small club, so the members are spread out over a huge area. But back to Riley's, a beautiful pre-war Riley there.
I'm going to go out on the 15th Friday and then I'm there till after New Year.
The Mk1 Mustang couldn't be more different than the little Rileys alongside. That's what makes shows like this so interesting. There's just such a huge variety of cars.
You might be alright since you're constantly moving.
At Capesthorne last weekend we saw the Jaguar Enthusiast Club stand, and now it's the turn here at Tatton of the Jaguar Drivers Club. So let's see what interesting older Jaguars are here. And here we've got the XJ SC. So this was Jaguar's first dabble at making an open top version of the XJS. The full convertible will come later, but for a time they just produced this, the XJ SC, with its very stag-like roof. So you didn't get a full convertible, you had all this rollover assembly here, which presumably, as well as rollover protection, stiffened the body shell up a fair bit as well. And it's a manual gearbox version this. It's got the 3.6 litre straight 6 in this one. You could get the V12 as well. As you'd expect, we've got a few Jaguar E-types here glistening in the sun. An XK here, an XK 120. Beautiful car. And it's got Type C on the cam covers. So it got some C-Type bits in there. Of course, the C-Type Jaguar, the race car that raced at Le Mans and so on, was actually officially called the XK120C, although everyone calls them C-Types now. Don't forget to check out that video that I put up a year or two back of collecting my mate's very rusty XK120 fixed head coupe, which is mid-restoration of at the moment. I do hope to do a bit of an update on that car before too long. And here we got a 3.5 litre Jaguar. These were beautiful cars. 2.5 or 3.5 litre engines were the options on those. The Series 2 here. Series 1, late Series 1, 1967. Beautiful engine glistening away there, that big straight 6 XK unit. Of course, that engine made its debut in the XK120 before it was fitted to the saloons. Jaguar tended to put the engine in the sports cars because they wanted to sort of give them a bit of testing before they put them in the saloons. Right, let's carry on. What's this over here? This is an Oldsmobile Toronado, this bronze metallic coloured car over here. These are pretty wild looking cars, and they were front wheel drive, which for an American car of the era was pretty unusual. We've got a mighty 2-door coupe Buick there. Next to that, a glorious Cadillac Fleetwood that we saw recently. What a beauty that is. I did wax lyrical about how much I like this era of car in a previous video, so I won't bore you with that, but I do like that a lot. This is this glorious 58 Buick. We had a chat with the owner of this one at Goresworth Hall. So if you've not seen the video yet where he talks about the restoration of this mighty, mighty car, please check out the Goresworth Hall video when you're finished here. Not before, of course. Got a Lotus Carlton here. These are a bit of a bad boy in the 1990s. Was it about 178 miles an hour or something they would do? Pretty incredible cars. Got a few other Vauxhalls here, Cavaliers, early-ish Cavalier there, and Mark II, Astra GTE, and the Vauxhall Nova. Is that the SR, I think? And the Chevette here, is this the HSR? Another little BMC AD016, the Austin, the 1100 or the 1300 perhaps, and the Sunbeam Vogue. We saw that Hillman Hunter earlier on, and the Singer Vogue only a week or so back, and this is the Sunbeam Vogue. Now, I think we probably first saw this car at the Crewe Heritage Centre, this wonderful, and the second example today of a Lada estate. Yeah, I had quite a chat with the owner of this one at Crewe Heritage a little while back. Such a rare car, that. And here we have the Vitesse, or Herald based in this case, the Bond Equipe or Equipe. This is mainly a fiberglass body sat on top of the Herald chassis. This is the Bond GT4S. The Morgan here, and an MGB over the back there.
Oh, we've got to see that.
We've got some classic Renault action here next to the Renault 21. Now, is this a 15 or a 17? I always get them mixed up. They were both coupes. So let's go and have a look at the badge on the back and cheat a little bit. So that's the 17, the TL. Another much modified 17 here. It's rare to see one, let alone two. There's a turbo badge on the back there pointing at many things going on under the bonnet of this particular example. Such a rare survivors, these two Renault 17s. You hardly ever see these. Cracking Renault 12 here. I've seen this one at various events across Cheshire and also down at the NEC. Can't see any Renault 4CVs here though, or Dauphines for that matter. These little Renault Clios, the Clio Williams, tweaked by the Williams Grand Prix team. They've had the following for quite a while now. The bonny little Renault 5 here. And the Droop Snoot Sports Hatch Vauxhall. This is the Chevette HS. Saw the HSR before, which had the flared wheel arches, and this is the HS version. Now the Northwest British Leyland, I think it is, enthusiasts. Their stand is headed by this early-ish Allegro. I do love those Leyland covers on the little spot lamps there. Most of the cars are later Rover Group machines. We've got an MG SVR, the X-Power car here. Pretty wild looking machine. But yeah, mainly later cars as opposed to British Leyland. A whole gaggle of Gilburns here. There's a little Gilburn GT. This one has a V8 in it. More often than not they had the V6 Ford engine in. And there's one of the rare estate versions. Wales' finest, of course these were built in Wales. The GT, 1964. Bonny little car, and at the risk of repeating myself, guess what the backlights are off? Yep, the A40 Farina, the lesser spotted Austin A40 Farina. Over here a much modified Marina, badged up as a Marina GT. They never made a Marina GT, I think those badges are off an MGB GT. But they did do the TC, and this has got many mods. Mark 1 TC engine, etc, etc, servo brakes, oil cooler, blah blah blah, and rated springs, sunroof, GT front grille. Yeah. Very smart car, quite an early Marina that as well. Morris Minor here of course. Always good to see Moggies. A little Renault 11 hatchback. P4 Rover 105R. Is that the overdrive car? Another Rover SD1. The 800 Rover, the fastback version. A little boxy 216 or 213, yeah, 213 SX.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just a very quick exhibitor announcement here.
Just seems to look better and better every time we see this little forward control comma pickup. The bonnet's up on this glorious Jaguar 420G. The 420G was the slightly revised version of the previous Mark 10. Strips down the side of the giveaway that you're looking at, the later 420G. Very similar car, but the Mark 10 had the 3.8 litre version of this engine. Triple carburetors, and this is the 4.2 litre version. The engine, of course, which eventually, in similar form, ended up under the bonnet of the XJ6 that came along a little bit later. For many, many years, these were the widest new cars for sale in this country. Probably in America it would be treated as a compact, but not so much over here. Let's just have a quick wander over here. E-Type Mark 1 Capri. Another rather smart Rover over here. Another P5, this time a Saloon. Slightly higher roofline compared to the coupes, but still four-door. Beautiful blue interior. Looks like it's got a later gearbox in this one, a 5-speed box. Very, very nice car indeed. Many Lotuses here. Great lineup of classic Elans at the back there. Got a Lotus XL. Another Lotus XL. And an Elan Plus 2 on the end of this row here. We approve of pop-up headlights. We've got some heavy metal here. We've got a DBS V8 Aston Martin. Initially those came with the straight 6 Aston engine. This one's the V8 version. Jensen's here, Jensen Interceptor on an M. The CV8 that we see so often at many events. Beautiful car. You can never get too much of that one. The open top version of the Interceptor that we saw driving in before. You don't see these quite so often. You see the fixed head coupe, if you like, versions of the Interceptors, but not so many of these. The big Chrysler V8 engine there glistening in the sun. Interceptor there in red. And here we have the FF Ferguson formula, the four-wheel drive Jensen. First glance it looks very similar to the Interceptor. It's a little bit squarer at the front round the headlights, slightly longer front end, and 2 sets of slats set into the front wings. Those are the giveaways that you're looking at the four-wheel drive FF, as opposed to the regular, if you like, Jensen Interceptor. Much rarer, the four-wheel drive cars. Another beauty here in a very light metallic green. And another one here on the end, again showing off its mighty Chrysler power plant. Got another mixed make local classic car club here, Mark 1 Fiesta, little MGTD. Now what's this beautiful Talbot here? I've never seen this before. Lovely pre-war Talbot, must be late 1920s, something like that. Very close to this Austin Healey 100M. But yeah, this is a Talbot 1023 Light Tourer. Let's hop over this little barrier here, let's walk round it rather, and have a quick look at the information sheet. It's a beautiful shape, this Talbot. I just love the way the sides sort of wrap in. You probably can't really see it, but there's super wide running boards as well. Very narrow body, but very wide steps on the running boards there.
I know, but I couldn't give you that proper.
Beautiful car. What year is that? I can't quite get round there. We'll get there in the end, fear not folks. Right, finally, here we go. The car you see today is a 1926 example of Talbot 1023, built in London with a light touring body, 1074cc, and maximum speed of 55 miles an hour, and rear wheel braking only. Isn't that beautiful? And because you've got the spare wheel mounted on the running board, the driver has to clamber in through the passenger side. There is no door on the front on this side. The rear passengers has got a door on this side, but the driver has to hop out the other side. But as that's the near side and the curb side, it's probably a little bit safer to be doing that anyway, so it's not necessarily the end of the world. Beautiful old lamps on here. Over here we've got the Van der Plas 4 litre R, Rolls-Royce powered Van Plas. It's on the D 1966. This one's in all over grey. Sometimes they were two-tone. Lovely leather, walnut dashboard and so on. The 3-litre Princesses, the roof sort of came back a little bit, whereas on the 4-litre it just sort of went curved over in the normal way. So there were lots of little detail differences on the bodies. You might think the 3-litre and the 4-litre were the same, all apart from the engine, but they're very, very different. Got a soft top version of the 3 Series BMW here. This is by Bauer. Quite a rare survivor now. Perfect for a day like this. Little 4-seater. Yeah, nice car. A couple of Morris Travellers here, both immaculate, and a P6 on the end. Love the wind down rear window in this Chevrolet. The Chevrolet Parkwood, 1961. Real variety of cars here on the XR Owners Club stand. XR3s, XR4i, a little XR2 on the end here, of course the Fiesta Mark II.
I'm trying to picture who pulled it.
So we'll come back to the house.
Bonny little standard. Is it a standard 8 or a 10? I can't remember. We did see this one at Avro Heritage at standard 10, still with a lovely period roof rack on the top. If you've not seen the Avro Heritage video yet, please check that one out when you're done here. We parked next to this beautiful little standard when we took the MX-5 over there, and it was like parking up at home next to our little standard 8, but this is the 10. This had the 948cc version of the little standard engine, the SC 4-cylinder engine. Of course the 8 had the 803.
It's a what? Is it? Yeah. That's a standard.
A bit of everything here. Little midget. Much modified 100E. It's a 2-door but badged up as the 100E Prefect, which was always a 4-door. A Mark 1 Astra. RS2000, the Mexico, the TR8, and the little 7, the Robin Hood 7. We've got an interesting pair here. We've got the Leyland Princess, and alongside it the replacement Ambassador. Very similar shape, but the Princess just had the little opening boots, that bit, whereas the Ambassador is what the Princess should always have been, a full hatchback. Yeah, it's great to see these two together. You don't normally see them alongside each other, so you can make a few comparisons. An Ambassador Van Plas.
That's the price when new.
Here we've got a just post-war Rover 75. These were based on the P2, which was brought in prior to World War II. This is post-war. And this is the P3. It's slightly different, looks very similar at first glance to the regular saloons, the P2s, but this is a P3, by which point in time they were on the solid disc wheels as opposed to the spoked wheels of the earlier cars. Various engine sizes were available. This is a standard saloon. You could also get the sports saloon with a lower roof and just 2 windows either side. Like that P1 that we saw earlier, the 1935, the maroon P1, that was a sports version. And this is a just post-war P3 regular saloon. Beautiful quality car, real quality car that is. Another one here, a Rover 60 this time. Again, that's a real Bobby Dazzler, and this is the sports saloon with a low roof line and just 2 windows per side. So it's nice that you can make the comparison here if we stand back over here. You can see the regular saloon there, 3 windows per side. And the sports saloon, low roofline and 2 windows per side. This is a Lee Francis 14 Sports KGA 331, the Lee Francis. That's a rare survivor, that one. I do like that. Let's have a quick look. A 2.5 litre Sports 1952. Found in a barn at Duns in Scotland. Duns, of course, was the home of Jim Clark, the racing driver. I don't think this was his. In a very sad state, restored over 12 years to present condition by the owner. See photographs. Yeah, that's a rare car. Post-war coach-built car. Like I said, 1952, same year as our little sit-up and beg Ford Anglia, but a whole lot more advanced than that. Good to see proper ace plates as well on this one. Original registration number, original plates. We like that. We have the Ford Side Valve Owners Club, and we don't see the Owners Club all that often at the events we go to, occasionally the NEC. But yeah, what a treat this little Model Y van is. Look at that can. Oof. I know someone who would like that oil can, but he'll have to join the queue. But yeah, what a cracker that is. Ford Model Y van. Alongside that we've got a little 500 weight Fordson. This is a fairly early one. I can't quite remember, is it the E04C? It's not the E494C because it's got the one piece kind of grille. That's quite an early Ford 8 van. I'll look up the exact model number of that one when I get back home, but it precedes the little E494Cs that you usually see at these events. A little pop, much modified. A little Anglia here, a bit like ours. The Prefect, that's a 107E, so that's got the overhead valve Anglia engine in it. You can tell that it's got the little dog leg on the front there, which is usually a giveaway that this is a slightly later engine version as opposed to the original side valve powered car. And here we've got an MG Y Series Saloon, a YA Saloon of 1953, up for sale for £12,000. Yes, that super original Ford Model Y we saw driving in before, proper oily ragger. There's another unusual one, it's the 4-door, so it's the main body is very similar to that of the Prefect, but the front end is very different. It's got the 3-slot grille, which makes it quite a rare car. Again, I can't quite remember, is it a 7Y or the 7W? One of the two. There's all these funny little variants of the sort of Ford 8s and 10s, but that's a beautiful little car, pre-war and very, very rare. There are some seriously rare cars here on the Ford Side Valve Owners Club stand today, including this little Prefectora. Wow, that's based on the E93A Ford Prefect. The Ford Squire, the posh estate version of the 100E. You had the Escort as well, but this is a Squire, which was a little bit plusher, I think, and with rear opening side windows. The body shell is very similar to that of the little Thames 300E van, although these had the split tailgate, top hinge tailgate. That bit goes up there and the bottom drops down, whereas the vans had 2 side hinge doors. But otherwise the body shell is very similar to the little Thames van. But that's a rare car. The early Squires had like wood effect trims, just sort of things that are going down the side just to give it a bit of extra pizzazz. But these revised Squires, they did away with all that. That's the 103E Ford Pop, very similar to our Anglia. Another Pop here. Another one here. The E493A Prefect. And a very neat little Model Y pickup. No E83Ws here today, but yeah, that's a rare little truck. Good to see a little Hillman Minx here today. In the background there's the Super Minx estate we saw driving in before. That's a rare old girl, that is. Very original looking paint on most of it, I think. The Chrysler Avenger. So this was sort of a slightly revised version of the good old Hillman Avenger. Where did you last see one of these? This is an early console badged Mk1 Cortina on a 1964 registration left-hand drive with the woody effect down the side. That is a seriously rare car. You don't exactly trip over these very often either. This is an early Honda Civic. Here in the public car park we've got this fantastic A55 Cambridge Mark II. Absolutely immaculate. Austin Healey's are out in force. Loads of MX-5s here today, including several Mark 1s and Unos's and so on, including a bright yellow one here, identical colour to ours. So obviously we approve of that one. And a metallic green one on the end. Wouldn't be a classic car show here at Tatton Park without a good turnout of MGs. And a good turnout of MGs we definitely have, because this is the Cambridge Oxford Owners Club. So we've got a Wolseley 1660. Morris Oxford, another A55 Cambridge, an A60 Cambridge, and here a Riley, either 468 or the 472. And even more BMC beauties down here. There's the Wolseley 1885 and another A55. I've never seen so many of these Mark II A55 Cambridges. A recreation of a period car dealer's lot, hence the prices on the screen. 3 good tyres, hardly smokes. Fantastic. It's quite an early Morris Oxford here. So this was the contemporary of the A55 Cambridge Mark II with the big fins on the back. When you see them go past, the giveaway that you're looking at the Morris is this strip along here. And the Morris had this sort of anodised aluminium strip that runs on the top of the sills, whereas the Austin Cambridge didn't have that. So if you're looking at it from the side and you're not sure if you're looking at the A55 Mark II or the finned Morris Oxford, that's the way of telling them apart. Of course, Austins have a little A on the hubcap, and Morris's have an M. Right. Oof, lovely Westminster. Morris 1800 there, a white one. Got a Morris police car here. I'm so glad I didn't miss this bit of the show area, because there are some great cars here. That's quite a late Austin 1800. Quite a jazzy looking one. And over here, a nice early one. More Farinas down here. Big effort here. Hats off to the Cambridge and Oxford Owners Club, and indeed all the clubs that feature in this particular video, because you know, the effort that goes into organising and bringing all the kit to these events is not to be underestimated. Fortunately, it looks like they've got great weather all weekend, so there should be a really good turnout of punters here to admire the efforts that all these clubs have gone to for this weekend here at Tatton Park. What do we have over here? A40 Sports. So this was the sort of the slightly more rakish looking version of the Austin Devon and the Somerset. Still with a 1200cc pre-B series engine under it, but with twin carburettors in the case of the Sports. These bodies, I mean, this is a 1953 car, so it's got the column change of the Somerset, whereas the Devon saloons were floor change. Yeah, this is based on the chassis of the Austin Somerset, very, very similar underneath, alley bodied, body by Jensen Motors. Yeah, that's a rare old girl now. There's a few interesting cars on this stand, the Northwest Casual Classic stand. Oof, be still my beating heart, a standard 10. And what do we have here? I do not know. A standard and Avon Special, standard Avon Special. That's a beautiful looking car, that is. Based on the standard Big 9. First registered in 1932. 9 horse, standard Big 9 engine, 4-speed non-synchro gearbox. hydraulic front and rear cable brakes. Got an Austin 16 here, just post-war Austin 16 next to the little post-war. Is that a 12? Not quite sure. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, standard 12 drop head. Again, post-war, don't have any vents in the side of the bonnet. The pre-wars did and had flying as part of the name. Here we've got an Amazon, quite a late two-door Amazon. It's on mini light wheels. I could very well see myself back in one of those before too long. Many other interesting old cars. Here we've got a Corvair, a Chevrolet Corvair with a flat air-cooled 6 in the back. This was a real departure for Chevrolet, more often associated with big V8s. If you remember watching the Cholmondeley Castle classic car show, you'll see that I did give this one a mention. This little Riley 1.5 with the steel sliding sunroof. That makes it very unusual. Right, let's carry on. Many more cars to see. The Super Minx convertible. We saw a Super Minx Estate before. Now we've got the open top car. How great is that? Wouldn't that be perfect on a lovely sunny summer's Sunday afternoon? Go out for a drive in this, complete with your picnic set. Go and park up at the side of a nice quiet road somewhere and just enjoy sitting, staring at your lovely Super Minx convertible. It's an interesting little Wolseley here, just sat in the shade of all these trees. At first glance I thought it was a Hornet, which is the 6-cylinder saloon of the sort of mid-1930s, but this is the 4-cylinder Wolseley Wasp. We've got a bit of information here, 1935, 1069cc overhead cam engine, so quite advanced for its day, price when new, £165. Some nice old Mercedes here today on the Mercedes Club stand. Oh, look at this lot, the Zephyr and Zodiac Owners Club. Oh, a bit of everything here. I've never seen so many in one place. We've got a Zephyr 4. There aren't too many of those around. The Mark III Zephyr. The 6s had a slightly wider grille that went round, the single headlamps either side, and I think the Zodiac, like the one alongside, those have 2 headlights per side. And a couple more down here. Here we've got the Zephyr 6, where the grills are 2 separate grills and they go around the headlights, so that's the difference on those. We like that. And the Zodiac. What a great turnout of these big old Fords. Over here we have a Zodiac estate. Good heavens above. We do like that. What a practical bit of kit that is. A stunning little Beetle here, a 6-volt Beetle with the slopey headlights from 1964. Over here we've got a trio of Ford console classics. 2-door saloon, 2-door saloon work in progress, and another restored example over here in green. Again, a 2-door saloon.
When I bought them, they had all
We're on the Manchester Historic Vehicle Club stand now. We've got a Bullnose Morris Cowley here of the 1920s. Bit of live music going on in the background. MGA Roadster. And an MGYB, I think. Is this a YA? Oh, it's a YA 1250cc. Pretty much the same engine, I think, as fitted to the MG TD. We've got a very original looking Austin 7 Ruby. I almost missed this one. Yeah. Great old car, this one. Perfect for a picnic. a Borgward Isabella, a two-door Borgward Isabella. What a cracker that is. These were built in Germany. We've got the top trump card in the window there, giving us all the vital statistics, the length, number of cylinders, year of registration, 1958, and top speed of 93 miles per hour. Here we go, the Borgward Isabella TS, the Touring Sport. Bit of info there if you want to pause the video and have a quick read. Yeah. What a wonderful interior that is. Well, the bonnet's down now on this Equipe GT4S, so we can have a proper look at the styling of it. Fiberglass front, the Herald doors are there, so it's basically a Triumph Herald door but with different door frames and different door glass in it. So those are steel, but the rest is fiberglass. Very distinctive shape, apart from the door you'd never guess. Well, maybe the wheels would be a giveaway, but those are off a later Spitfire anyway, but you'd never really guess that this was based on the humble Triumph Herald chassis.
One of these
back to that standard 20, the V8 powered standard 20, the flying 20, and there's the V8 engine purring away.
Yeah.
What a cracking engine.
They were commissioned 350, they ended up building. I was just trying to find for this guy a picture of the, because I've not the, yeah, no worries. Enjoy.
Well, here we are back at the Reliance Saber 6, and despite my best efforts, we have yet to find the car that those rear lamps were originally fitted on. We've seen various cars, including Gilburn and this, and some of the later Wolseley 1500s and the Riley 1.5s with these lamps, but no Austin A40 Farinas. We are Farina free, at least a little Farina anyway, here today at the Tatton Park Classic Car Show. Many big Farinas, or bigger Farinas, the Cambridges and the Oxfords. There's a great turnout of those, Westminsters, Van den Plas 3 litre and 4 litre R, but none of the little Austin A40 Farinas, either in Mark 1 or Mark 2 guise, which I'm a little bit surprised about. There was a few A35s and A30s here, and no A40s. I think I'll just go and pop over the way in front of the old hall, find somewhere shady to park up and watch some of the cars as they leave sunny Tatton Park. Well, this seems to be a good place to park up for a few minutes and just watch some of the departures leaving. And that in the background is the main Tatton Hall. What a fantastic old building that is. My car is in the way apparently. Right, well I've moved now. Anyway, I think it's probably time to start wrapping up this video. Thanks so much for watching this June 2023 visit to the Tatton Park Classic Car Show. It's been a real humdinger, and I won't be leaving it another 13 years before I come back here again. There is another, I think there's another event or two later on this year, so we'll definitely be back for at least one of those. Thanks very much for watching. Please check out the rest of the channel while you're here, and there'll be many more videos along very soon. So bye for now.